Hi, my name is Stephanie Cortina, and I'm going to be sharing the results of my action research report through this video. So, the action research that I chose for this research was differentiated instruction in phonics for a gifted self-contained classroom that the students are in second grade. And the reason why I chose this was uh, because I wanted to find a better way to assess phonics. I saw that many of my students were acing the phonics tests, and I felt that they weren't being challenged. So I was trying to find out different ways to see what I can do to improve this and to challenge the students at my school. Since we have a big gifted curriculum, we do the test out policy, and we've done it for different for different areas like math tests and cold reads, which test reading comprehension. So I wanted to see if this could also work in respect to phonics assessment, because I saw that many students would come in and they would already know how to spell and decode, and they already knew the rules. So I just felt that there needed to be a different way or different format to meet everyone's needs. And here I am only talking about the high students, but there was other students that kind of just slipped through the cracks where you would see them as, oh, they took a long time on this assessment because they're trying to, get the best score. But upon further observation, you would see that they would struggle with, with fluency. And when you would hear these children read, they didn't know how to decode these words properly, and they would sound them out differently, and they didn't put the syllables together. They didn't understand the silent e on long vowel sounds. So they got these things confused, and these were things that they should have mastered when they were at first grade. But again, not everyone's perfect, and children work in different ways. And that being said, that's why I really like differentiating student work. I feel that, with gifted students, teaching in a whole group instruction really doesn't benefit them. They need their education to be tailored, and they need, to be enriched. And by teaching each student the same thing, that's not being enriched. So, yeah, this helped me, figure out the reason why I'm doing this action research, and why I chose this one in particular, because it was something that I already was interested in figuring out, and I wanted to see if this was like the best form. I've had experience working with gifted students, like know what they can do and what they can't do, and I felt that this was the best way to challenge myself and to challenge them as well. I really wanted my gifted students to feel accountable for what they were what they were doing. I wanted them to actually know the reasons why, not just like, here, take a test, get an A, and you're fine. I wanted them to actually work and get the A. So the way that I did this was by basically we used the iReady. And once I used the iReady scores, I was able to see that I had, a group of students that were below, I had a group of students that were in the middle, and I had a group of students that were above. So just by looking at that, I had students that were below and students that were above. And that tells me that those kids are not going to benefit from whole group instruction that's targeted for on grade level. They will either be too bored because they already know it, or they just will become frustrated because it is just beyond what they know. So with that being said, I decided that, yeah, there needs to be a way to differentiate phonics. And luckily at my school we had training with differentiated instruction, and we used this format called the Daily Five, which is just a framework where it has students work on different aspects of reading, like reading to self, read to someone, listen to reading, word work on writing. So the way that this framework works is that, the student will choose something that they want to work on. For example, read to self, they're going to get the books that they need to use, like books that are on their level, a good fit book, based on the program. And they're going to, find a spot where they're going to read, and they're going to be reading. And it can vary from 10 minutes to 30 minutes. And then during that time that the child's working on that independently, that's when the teacher will come in, and the teacher will basically pull a group of students or pull an individual student and basically work on what that group or what that student specifically needs. And the way that they go about it is by, you conduct mini lessons for your reading instruction. Then they break off to their independent, read to self, work on writing, whatever section they want to do. And then the teacher has that chance now, has the time, the flexibility to pull a group and work on and target onto what the students specifically need. So we already did this for reading anyway. So I was like, oh, let's do this for phonics as well. So my class was already trained on this setting, so it really helped. And I just feel that if any other teacher wanted to do this as well, then they just would have to, have the classroom management and have the students be accountable for their learning. Like, they need to know, like, okay, I passed this, so now I'm gonna move on to this lesson. And you would think that, the students don't really care about their learning, but if you do speak with them and conference them, they become accountable and they want to show growth and they want to see their progress. And you just, they can't, and they will. You just have to work with them and talk to them. The way I did this in the classroom for the results was I would do a pre-test of the rule, and if they didn't get the rule, then they'll be like, this is the rule that you're working on. And they had the whole week to work on that rule, and they could practice like sorting the words. We have flashcards, we have little letters that they could use the words around. They could also use their actual books. Like, we do I showed them the strategy called word sort. So let's say if they were working on short A, they would use their books that they would get from the library, and they would hunt for words that had short A. And what this helped them do was that they were able to recognize the pattern, and they can decode it right away. So they don't have to worry about like sounding out each letter. They're like, oh, this is a short A. I know this word. I can pronounce it. So, I would tell them, like, this is the rule you're going to be working on this week, and you're going to practice. So my lesson is very basic. This is the rule. Here's some examples. Here's some words. This is how it sounds. And I will do this in the beginning of the week. And then towards the end of the week, sometimes they'll come to me and they'll tell me I'm ready to test. Or sometimes, at the end of the week, Thursday, Friday is when we test them. And then once they master the skill and they understand the rule and they know the rule, they move on to the next section, based on that spelling inventory that I attached to the page, to the research report. So it goes in order from very basic to beginning sounds to very difficult, which has to do with root words and suffixes and prefixes. And it just goes up there. And what I ended up doing was, I made a chart with all those rules and all those sections. And once the student masters that, then they move their name and they go to the next section. So they're aware of their progress, and I really like it for these gifted students to know where they're at and to know what they need to do. So another thing was, I had mentioned that I wish I had more time, and this is something I am going to continue to the end of the year. I'm not going to just stop it right away. I'm very interested to see the results. But from what I've already seen, besides seeing the growth in phonics, I see growth in other aspects as well. So a lot of my students, especially the ones that were below level, they showed growth in fluency as well, because they were no longer struggling to sound out each letter. They were able to chunk the words and sound out, the phonics rules. And another thing I did notice was that the classroom management also improved, because I saw a lot of the students, whenever they had their independent time, they were actually working. And then sometimes I would see maybe two students, I'd see them maybe two or three students like talking, and I'm like, oh, what's going on? I'll check, and they all had the same rule. So they even know like when they have the same rule, and they will practice the same rule together. And it's the thing with the gifted kids, I really like them to collaborate and work together. And they were all working on the same rule, and they were helping each other on how to, sort different words with that same rule. And that really showed me that they knew what was expected of them, and that this strategy does work. Because when you differentiate the assignments for these students, it makes it feel more personal to them, and they want to try, because you're giving that child that individual attention that I feel like every student should have. And it really does help them, because it really gives them that interest and that will to learn, because they know, oh, this is falling on me. And it's a great thing to see. And yes, I learned a lot from this project. It was very interesting just to see how everything works. And I would love to see the end results, and see once we do the final test for iReady, to see how their phonics section moves. I wish to have everyone at or above grade level by June. And we'll see how it goes. Well, thank you very much, and have a great day.